Hey guys, I want to talk about some stuff, some things that I found out recently and were just honestly too juicy not to share. So somebody on Instagram had showed me or told me about somebody that was supposedly the guy that made all of Tom DeLonge's Fender custom shop stuff, everything. He was the guy, and just, out of, consideration for him, I'm not going to give his name, and if anybody gives his name in the comments, I'm just going to delete it because I don't want to bombard him with people asking him questions or anything like that, and he asked me not to disclose his Instagram credentials or whatever. So just leave it at that. Just trust me that it's absolutely legit, and I'm super excited to show you guys this stuff, and I certainly wouldn't BS you guys because I'm totally fascinated by this stuff. I'm going to try to splice in, pictures and stuff as much as possible, just to kind of give you ideas of references that I'm talking about here, because I got a few things to talk about. So when I came across who it was, I sent him a message, but I didn't hear back, and then a couple weeks later, I finally managed to get him to reply to me, and the first thing I asked, just to get it out of the way, was on all of Tom's custom shop stuff, did he use a bridge invader or a neck invader for his pickup? And I also asked if he used a treble bleed too, just because, it's obviously on all of the production model stuff. And he replied saying, always a bridge invader, every single time, and there was no treble bleed, which I'm not surprised at all by. He used the bridge invader in the Les Paul, and, regardless of, the production models, I still don't know why the production models had neck invaders, and I'm still not 100% sure if all of them did. I think only some of them did, but I'm really not sure. And I didn't ask why the production models did, but I'm not surprised that there was no treble bleed, because Tom never really played with rolling off the volume very much. He was either 0 or 100 all the time, and if he wanted a cleaner sort of sound, he would just use his channel changer and, go to like a cleaner sound through his amp. He wouldn't really mess with the volume knob. So that's great information. It's something I've been wanting to figure out for a very long time. A couple people that I knew that had his signature Fenders didn't want to go digging, underneath the pickguards to try and figure it out because they were, too nervous to do so. So whatever. He says it's a bridge invader. I'm cool with that. I'm not gonna not believe him. So let me see what else I got here. So he finally replied to like my private message after that, and the first question I asked him was, he had an orange Strat. Tom had an orange Strat back in the day, and you guys may or may not know this, but when he resold it, he had painted it like a whitish or like very, very light blue. I think it was white though. The reissued app, he sold a few painted guitars, like painted and burnt up and whatever. And there was 3 Strats and 1 333 from Gibson, and you could see that one of them said Subcaster on it. And that I eventually found out was the orange Adam's Song Strat. That was the one that he used on that. And there's a couple pictures you can see, which I'll show you, that you can see that it does say Subcaster on the headstock, like while he's playing it live, not just afterwards with the reissued stuff. And when you try to look up Subcaster, nothing really comes up except for, like a website that's just showing, Tom sold the Subcaster or whatever. So I asked him, the headstock said Subcaster. I always thought it was a Subsonic, but when I Google Subcaster, nothing comes up. Is there anything you remember about that? was Subcaster a real thing with no real documentation, or was it just something that was maybe made up on the fly? And he said that was indeed a Subsonic. It was just an early version that they did before the Subsonic became an official model, which does make sense because Tom got this guitar, you know, probably in like '99, and the Subsonics didn't like officially release onto the market until I think 2000, and it only went for, you know, like 2 years or something. So that definitely makes sense. Let's see. I said I do believe those are 27-inch scales. Let me see. He confirmed that it was a 27-inch scale. I asked if he was still working with Fender, and he says he does, but he's not working in the custom shop anymore. And I asked if it was something, you know, possibly that you could order through Fender, or if, you know, maybe there was like a copyright or a trademark or something, you know, not allowing you to get like an exact Tom DeLonge model. And he says he doesn't see why you couldn't get your own custom shop version of a Tom DeLonge Strat, which would be really cool. So the next question I asked him was something I was wondering about for a long time. You know, I'm about to do some painting on a Strat to try and mimic his old brown Strat with the orange stripe. I actually have like a little test that I did on this paint stick, which I'm hoping, you know, it comes out pretty cool. But so back on Instagram a couple years ago when Tom was still in Blink, he posts a picture of the broken body of that guitar. Clear as day, brown with the orange racing stripe, and it has like a very specific route underneath the pickguard. It has like an HSH, you know, for humbucker, single coil, and another humbucker in the neck. And it said like, "Oops, my bad." And then another picture of that gets posted later on, not long after that, and it just said the old Seafoam, which was interesting. It made me always think, well, hey, you know, maybe this was the original Seafoam guitar painted over, because it had the same inlays on the headstock. And I had never seen those inlays, which is like the little punk guy with like the spiky hair. I had only ever seen that on his original Seafoam green Strat, which I had seen pictures of, you know, hanging up in some installation. I'm not sure if it was like a Hard Rock Cafe or if it was some music museum. I'm not entirely sure. I do have pictures of that I'll show. But, you know, I just kind of took Tom's word for it that, you know, it got painted over, and maybe those pictures I saw of it hanging up were just really old. And so I was confused. You know, I wanted to find out. So I asked him, you remember the original green Strat he had with the punk guy inlays? He said it was later painted over as a brownish color with an orange stripe. Would you have done that cover up? And if so, do you remember anything about that? He says the original green with the punker face was always that way. I also made the brown one at the same time that I made the black one with the racing stripes. So he's talking about the Boxcar Racer Strat with the white stripe and the Freemason logos on the inlays. So he made the brown one with the orange stripe and the black one with the white stripe at the same time, which does make sense. I mean, they're pretty similar guitars, and he played them at the same time. You know, there wasn't like some big gap around it. It was always around like 2001, 2002 that he was playing those. And then he says you can see the modern route on the brown body that he broke, which is true. It had the HSH. And it said the original Surf Green had a vintage route, and I added the humbucker to it. That meaning it was either routed for an H, like a humbucker in the bridge, and 2 single coils, or it was originally routed for 3 single coils, and he just made a humbucker fit in there. So he was very certain about that. So the green with the punker face could still be hanging in whatever exhibit that is, or maybe Tom has it again now. I know the one that he played in the Pursuit of Tone documentary, that was a little bit different. That was like his original prototype, and I'm fairly certain that was the one. That was the one that still had the tremolo bridge on it, and originally, like way back in the day, it even had a slot in the pickguard for a pickup selector, which you can see in a couple photos. And that eventually got swapped out. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure where this punker face green one is. Tom might have it, or like I said, it could still be hanging up somewhere. So I found that very interesting. I'm assuming Tom just made a mistake. He probably just forgot. There's definitely some times where he said incorrect things about his gear. All throughout the D-Legacy sale they did back in 2015. There's some misinformation on there, like when he was selling the red ES333 or 335 with the stickers. He called that the Boxcar Racer, the one and only, or whatever. But he had 2 of them, and he only sold 1 of them. So just little things like that. So I think he's got so much stuff going on. He probably just forgets. He probably assumed it was the green one, or forgot that he had the green one hanging up somewhere. I don't know. And what's cool about the pictures of the green one that I have, is that you can clearly see a note that was between Tom and the guy at the custom shop saying, I got your pictures, let's go with the little punker guy. I think that would be cool, or something. So he probably gave a couple different ideas. Let's see. I asked him what color brown that would be. Is it like an official Fender color, or what? What official Fender color would it have been? I suggested maybe cocoa or something, because I've seen that cocoa brown color before. And he said, we didn't really have an official brown at the time. Tom had some color swatches, and we tried to match them. His wife came up with the brown and orange combo, which kind of makes sense, because it's definitely a very 70s kind of combo, and like the brown and orange. And Jen, Tom's wife, is very into like fashion and that sort of stuff, and kind of has that 70s sort of inspiration in a lot of the things that I've seen her do. So that definitely makes sense. So I wanted to ask him another question. I remembered afterwards, and so I said, do you remember the natural Strat that he had with the black stripe and the Mason inlays? I believe he had 2 of them. Do you remember what woods they were made of? The pictures I can find are tough to judge, and it looks like they have some sort of laminate top on them, meaning like the main part of the body would be one type of wood, and then it has another type of wood kind of sandwiched on top of it. It's fairly common. And I had only noticed that recently. I was watching a lot of like the album launch from 2003 on MTV. You can see Tom using the natural Strat throughout that video a couple times, and you can see like there's a clear line separating different types of woods on that guitar, like just past the racing stripe. So I was very interested to find that out. And he told me something that I never would have guessed. I never would have figured it out ever. And he says, I think that was a body blank from the bass we used to make for Victor Bailey. So in the pictures I'm going to show you, I looked up the Victor Bailey bass, and you can I mean, granted, it says it all over because you can find the documentation, but you can clearly see there's 3 woods. And when I looked it up, it said that I had said to him, you know, does it have a laminate top on it? And he says, yeah, I think it was like a weird sandwich of 3 different woods. So I looked it up, and it said that it had a mahogany body, like a mahogany back, with a thin layer of rosewood, maybe about like a 1/4 of an inch, and then on top it had koa, which totally confirmed my suspicions. I mean, I thought it was mahogany for a while, but koa can look very similar to mahogany, and it can be dark, it can be light, which, you know, definitely made sense based off of the 2 that Tom has, because one is definitely a bit lighter than the other one. And when I looked up pictures of the Victor Bailey bass, it was clear as day. It had that dark stripe through it of that rosewood, because rosewood is a very dark wood, and then it had, you know, the obvious, like, big thick piece of mahogany at the back, because you could see it at the forearm cut, because when it's cutting down, you can see, you know, the actual, like, dissection of the woods. And one thing I wanted to clarify, when he's saying a body blank, basically what Fender, or what a lot of companies would do, is they would take these 3 woods, like 3 rectangular pieces, and just sandwich them together, glue them, and they'd be ready for sanding. It's not like they took an already carved out, like, jazz bass body and then made it work for a Strat. You know, they took, you know, that square rectangular sandwich of wood and then carved a Strat body out of it. So that was really cool. I didn't ask about the finish, but, you know, if you look at the Victor Bailey basses, it looks like it has like a slight glossy finish on there, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, I did ask him one more question about that original orange subcaster that he had, because this has been another topic that people have been asking about for a long time. I said, was that orange Capri orange, which was a fairly well-known orange color for Fender? Fender used it in like the late 70s, early 80s. It was part of like their international series of colors, along with Maui blue, I think Moroccan red, and there was some, I don't know, a couple other like weird ones. So I said, would that have been, you know, Capri orange, or just like a straight up like regular orange? Because their custom shop just has like a orange color along with, I think, the Capri orange. And he says it wasn't Capri, it was another color swatch that Tom had brought in to match. So that's a lot of info, you know. That's all I really asked him. I didn't have any other questions. I don't know if I'll end up messaging him again, you know, because I don't really want to bother him. But if there's, you know, like a good question that maybe you guys have, if I can answer it, you know, I'll certainly answer it for you guys. Or if it's a good enough question that, you know, I forgot to ask, I'll try to ask him sometime. So feel free to leave some comments below. Hopefully you got some good information out of this. I was totally stoked to finally hear back from him. It was really cool. And like I said, I'm keeping his name out of it just because I don't want, you know, 1,000 kids emailing him, you know, out of the blue, because that would totally be my fault, and I don't want to bring that towards him. So if you know who it is, cool. Just don't say anything. Don't bother. And we can talk about it, you know, in private or something if you really want. So thanks for watching. If you got any other, you know, topics for videos you want me to talk about, feel free to leave some suggestions. Check out my Patreon if you haven't yet. I've been posting a lot of stuff on there. People have been asking about requests and stuff like that, and that is without a doubt the easiest place for me to fulfill a request. You know, I'm much more inclined to, you know, want to do the videos that, you know, the supporters are actually asking for. So Thank you to all the people on Patreon that are actually supporting me. You know, I really do appreciate it. So that's about all I got for this video. If you guys, like I said, have questions, leave them below, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. I'll see you later.